From the Foundation Studio right here on Biloxi's Back Bay. Welcome to Super Talk Outdoors, where we celebrate every single Monday at lunchtime the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi, because we are the capital of the outdoors in America. Believe it, because it's true. I want to thank you for joining us on the powerful Super Talk Mississippi Radio Network, or on Super Talk TV at C Spire TV. But if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube or your favorite podcast, it is July the 25th, 2022. And it was a beautiful weekend here in coastal Mississippi. We had a little rain, which is always the case this time of year. We decided on Saturday to do what we coast fishermen call run the cans. We wanted to run some cans on Saturday. What that is hitting the buoys on the ship channels that are off of Gulfport and off of Pascagoula. After talking to my friend Mark Creech, who I talk about all the time here on the show, he's just a really good friend. He went speckled trout fishing at Ship Island Friday with his priest, I might add. And they reported pretty slow speck fishing. I think they caught a couple of keepers, maybe 2 or 3 keepers. So we weren't really expecting a lot. But we caught 5 lemonfish, 5 cobia. We released 4, then we kept one in the 30 to 40 pound range. We caught a really nice speck, actually, deep under one of the structures, and a few mangrove snappers. So all in all, it was a great little, slow paced day. It was a lot of fun. We actually did find acres of red minnows off of Chandelier Light, but we. Other than the birds, we didn't see many fish. We saw a couple of redfish surface, but it was kind of slow. The redfish and tarpon bite has been really good, though. The reports have been terrific. All in all, the red minnows were slow, but the can running was very productive. We had a great time. We were back at my house by before 1 o'clock. You know what? With the high gas prices, you're not eager to take those 100-mile runs like we normally take. But the fishing grounds where the rigs start, in 40 to 100 miles off of coast of Mississippi, there were thunderstorms on the radar lingering basically the whole time that we were fishing. So even if we wanted to go there, we could not have gone there. So turns out running the cans was a really good idea. By the way, while we were catching bait at Ship Island, my son Jordan did a video of thousands of blue crabs in the shallows there. I actually posted that video at Super Talk Outdoors Facebook page. It's already been viewed over 11,000 times. It's really cool video. They just walked along, and he just kept walking, and these blue crabs were running in the shallows, and it seemed to get thicker and thicker the further he got. But you see that this time of year. So that's kind of cool. It's been hot all over Mississippi, but we're getting some welcome rain. I know that our farmers are loving the rain because they had a little stretch there. We'll talk about a little bit with our next guest where they didn't have very much rain. But the report from the Mississippi Delta, at least from my friend Travis Dunn, who we lease a farm from, he and his daughter went horseback riding at the farm in Mentor City this weekend. He said the soybeans there were absolutely incredible, that they're going to have some of the best crops they've had in a long time. That's actually music to my ears because, as you know, deer love soybeans. We love that the deer love soybeans, and hopefully my buddy Travis will leave us a little soybeans. And speaking of deer fishing, listen to me. Speaking of deer hunting, we're headed up to the Mississippi Delta this weekend to put some cameras out and start to nail down our work plan. If you do duck hunting or deer hunting, this is the time of year where you really have to start to buckle down and get some work done. And we're going to be doing that. As you know by now, the foundation, we call it Foundation for short, but the Foundation for Mississippi Wildlife Fisheries and Parks is a major sponsor of Super Talk Outdoors, and we really appreciate them. They're a group of super dedicated volunteers, leaders, who are working so hard for Mississippi's outdoor recreation and conservation. I'm so proud of that group and proud to be associated with them. But they also are hosts of the incredible Mississippi Ag and Outdoor Expo that's happening August the 5th through the 7th. Boy, I tell you, that new venue that is being held at, the Mississippi Trademark Building, that's a hell of a new building, I have to tell you. Over $30 million to build it. It features 110 square feet of total space, and they have actually 63,000 square feet of column-free, unobstructed exhibit space. So there is no better place to have this one-of-a-kind event, this expo, than there. And we're going to talk a bit more about the expo. We're just going to find out also the latest in his world these days. But let me bring my friend, the Commissioner of Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce, Andy Gipson, into the conversation. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing great. How are you today, Ricky?
It's great to see you, man. It's great to. I saw you nodding as I was talking about the farmers. Yeah. It was a little dry spell. I know that they were burning a lot of natural gas and diesel there for a while, but the reports from our farmers is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, compared to the rest of the country, we're doing pretty good. I mean, it's not the best year we've seen, but it's in a lot of areas, it's a whole lot better than it could be. I just got back from a national conference with folks from all over the country there, and they're talking about, liquidating herds of cattle in Texas due to the drought, talking about the Midwest drought and the crops that are not making. And so our farmers have been blessed this year, although it was really tough there. I think we went about 40 days without rain in parts of the north part of Mississippi, including some of the Delta. And so those that had irrigation were pumping some water. Thank the Lord for that water. And then our dry land farms were just praying for rain, and the Lord sent rain just in time in a lot of cases, just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. It's interesting. We with this drought all over the United States, that's this dome of high pressure. When you factor into the disruption that has occurred as a result of Russia invading its neighboring country, Ukraine, and what impact that's had on the rest of the world from grain. I mean, just about every aspect of agriculture has been impacted by it. It's a dynamic world to be a farmer in, isn't it?
It really is. Farmers are always the ultimate risk takers. Every year there's a risk. Every time you put a crop in the ground, put seed in the ground and work the crops and then pray for the harvest. That is always a risk, and farmers have no guarantees ever. But this year, unlike any that we've seen recently, I mean, the levels of risk are higher, and the diversity of risk is greater. When you've got Ukraine that normally would produce and export 30% of the world's grain, and now that is all being bottlenecked up due to the Russia war. And I saw Russia attack the port city over the weekend. It throws into question whether any of that grain is going to get out. That's an uncertainty. The fertilizer component of that, we don't have the fertilizer supplies from the world like we would normally get from Ukraine. And so everything's more expensive anyway due to inflation. I mean, just overwhelming inflationary pressures from every sector. But these factors are making it especially tough for farming. Factor in the fuel prices, we talked about that last time, but and the weather's always unpredictable. But here we are, we're going into pretty much we're wrapping up our corn harvest season here, getting into that in earnest up in the northern part of the state. And as we get into soybeans and cotton and everything else that Mississippi produces, we can be thankful for our farmers who never did quit, have never quit throughout this pandemic, throughout these supply chain challenges, and they're getting the harvest in. And I told a group last week, Mississippi's not going to go hungry. Now we are very thankful for our farmers and for the food and fiber and shelter that even our forest lands produce, and they never quit. And we're going to keep on supporting them no matter what.
I've talked about this a lot, but of course, because of hurricanes, coastal Mississippi is probably one of the most resilient set of communities in the United States because what we've had to bounce back from. But when you think about the weather related issues and the way that it's impacted our state, the way it's impacted farmers, I would put the farmers right up there as some of the most resilient farmers in the United States, wouldn't you?
No doubt about it. And the thing is, there are fewer farmers today than ever in the history of America. Consider this fact. 96% of the land in Mississippi is covered by farms or woods. All right, so that's 96% of our land. 1.3% of our people are farmers. So it's a very small percentage who are actually doing the work that we've got to do to produce our food and fiber. And, we can thank our farmers like never before, and they are the most resilient. We will get through this. That was my message when I spoke at this Mississippi Agriculture Industry Council last week is we can't quit. We cannot stop, no matter how hard it gets. The world is depending on us. Our country is depending on us. It's a matter of national security. Food security is national security because we can do without a lot of things, computer chips, and, parts for the tractors. We can make do with baling wire. We have to, but we can't do without food. We've got to have food.
We've got my friend Andy Gipson, the commissioner for Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce. When we come back, we're going to go into some details about the Mississippi Ag and Outdoor Expo that's coming up August 5th through the 7th. It's a unique event. Agriculture, hunting, fishing, worldwide guides, ATVs, tractors, and power equipment, and so on. What a great expo it is, and at this incredible new venue. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. We have my friend Andy Gipson, who's the commissioner for the Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce. And now we're going to chat about the Ag and Outdoor Expo, the Mississippi Ag and Outdoor Expo that's coming up in Jackson. And, it's a long list of sponsors. We'll share some of those with you before we get done with today's show. But the title sponsors, Southern Ag Credit, and there's a list of others. It takes a community of people to put this on. And we're thrilled that the Mississippi, the Foundation for Mississippi Wildlife Fisheries and Parks is kind of hosting the event. And, you're excited about it. It's a unique event. And it continues to build steam. It's exciting to have an event like this in Mississippi, isn't it?
It really is. It's something that I look forward to this time of the year, and looking forward to taking my family there as we did last August 5th through the 7th. Although this will be our third round of the expo because we had the fall show last year in August, and then we had something new, a spring show during the Dixie National Rodeo this past February, which was a little different focus and equally well attended. But we're doing something this year that we learned, I think, from that February show, and that is agriculture folks, rodeo folks, and outdoor hunting and fishing folks are the same folks. And we bring that all together with our program. As you know, we have the state's largest agriculture and rodeo events here on the fairgrounds. We just finished up a huge horse show here with folks from all over the country. And so this year, when the expo comes during that weekend on Saturday, we're going to have bulls, bands, and barrels, bulls, barrels, and bands there in the Mississippi Coliseum. So it's something that everybody can plug into and not only see the show, but see a good Western rodeo event at the same time, and some good singers, I might add. So we're the same people. This is Mississippi. We have a program called Genuine Mississippi, and this event has become a truly genuine Mississippi event, bringing all of our sportsmen together, hunters, fishermen. My son Ben has been putting his trail cameras out. He's 16 years old. He lives to hunt, hunts to live. And my son Joseph and the girls too. We all love it, and we'll be there every day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
So, Andy Gipson, what's interesting to me is that, we hear about outdoor expos across the United States, certainly in Mississippi as well. But when you think about the relationship between hunters and farmers and just farmers and their role they play helping with conservation, et cetera, it makes sense to have this all in one, doesn't it? I mean, it really does make sense.
It really does. I just mentioned that fact in the prior segment. 96% of the state is covered in farms or woods. I think that breaks down. 34% is actually operating farms, and then the balance in forest lands. All of that is agriculture, forestry and agriculture, our largest industry, our largest component of economic development in the state of Mississippi, and it is directly related to the health of our habitat, of our woods, of our wildlife program in the state. And so it goes hand in hand. When we were looking at doing a show like this, somebody had the idea, let's involve agriculture in here with it. And I think it was a win-win proposal, and it's been a great success, and we look forward to attending. You know, I walk around, visit to the folks at the Expo, and folks are there for different reasons. There are folks there who are looking to improve habitat on their own farm, for example. There are folks there who are looking to find somewhere to hunt, and just quite a diverse group of folks. But we are glad to host everybody at the Expo and inside the brand new Mississippi Trade Mart. It's going to be a great event. It's that time of the year. Here we are.
Well, you were shaking my head when I was talking about that $30 million investment, but what a building and what a great investment that is for Mississippi, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You know, we have really unveiled a world-class facility here at the fairgrounds, and we have used it. The Trade Mart is the most rented facility on the entire state fairgrounds, and it's rented, booked for something every weekend, it seems. In fact, literally, it's booked every weekend all the way through the end of the year. I'm 99% sure of that. But the reason for that is it is a great facility. It's all indoor, 110,000 square feet, and it's attached to the classic Mississippi Coliseum, which is where we have our rodeo events, and we'll be having bulls, barrels, and bands this coming August the 6th, excuse me, on that Saturday evening. They'll be there performing on the dirt inside the Coliseum. So it's all combined, it's convenient, and we are really excited to have everybody out. It's becoming a signature event. We have the Dixie National Rodeo, the largest rodeo east of the Mississippi River, in February. We have our Mississippi State Fair in October. This fits perfectly between those two, and it's the largest outdoor agriculture wildlife show in the state of Mississippi.
Well, let's look at some of the sponsors real quick, and I'll zero in on one or two of them for sure. But, of course, Farm Bureau's involved, Heritage Properties, Outback Steakhouse, JR Group, Stribling Equipment, Empire Trucking, the Taylor Group of Companies, Primos Outdoors, Davini, KLLM, Transport Services. Awesome to see all of those involved. You know, when I walked in I was there for the first one when the foundation had that reception and brought all those leaders in the outdoor community from across the state. You spoke there. It was great to see everyone together, but when you walked in and saw the Primos guys there, and of course Will Primos was there as well, it's a heck of a gathering of people, isn't it? I mean, this is a sort of a coming home, a brotherhood, so to speak, when you bring that group of people into that building focused on introducing the outdoors and the ag community to the rest of Mississippi. It's going to continue to grow, is my measurement on this.
Absolutely. And it's no accident that these outdoor conservationist leaders of Mississippi, most of them are farmers, active farmers, have a farm, work on the land. And a lot of the folks at the Ag Conference, I just got through attending the MAIC Ag Industry Conference. A lot of those same folks are in this group of leaders in conservation, because farmers are the original conservationists. We farmers who live on the land, work the land, we understand how important it is to manage the land, not only for production, but also to preserve and maintain the habitat that we want to have if we're going to have a successful hunting and fishing program in the state of Mississippi. And most of the land in the state is private land. It's private farms, private woods. We appreciate all the public land. That's a great thing too, but it's good. It takes everybody working together to keep our habitat what it needs to be. And so we've got plenty of whitetail deer population, and we're growing the bucks that we want to have here in the state, and bass for that matter. And we appreciate everybody involved, those who are farming, those who are not farming, but it takes all of us working together. And what a great combination, agriculture and the great outdoors.
You know, I can't help, this is sort of a side note to the central conversation we're having right now, but you know, I spent a lot of time on this show talking about the Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. The legislature passed it this last year. They allocated $10 million. They're promising that they'll focus on getting $20 million in this coming year. But the governor signed it into law, and one of the things that we really wanted to make sure was part of this and is the inclusion of private land, because you can't be serious about conservation if you don't include private land. And I was thrilled that was part of the bill, and now farmers and others can be innovative, can seek out, which is the farm bill. There's federal dollars available all over the place, but the bulk of the federal dollars for conservation are actually in the farm bill, and there's so many different tranches of money underneath that heading. But what Mississippi is going to be able to do is take that $10 million and turn it into $20, maybe even $30 million because of the amount of matching funds that are available. And farmers will be part of that conversation. That was a really, really important milestone for this state, wasn't it?
It was, and I really appreciate the legislature stepping up and making that happen. The House and Senate working together, the governor signing it into law. It is a historic moment and a great beginning to what I think can be the future of growing up the best outdoor program in the state, in the country for that matter. But certainly the one in the state of Mississippi that now can build upon the NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Program that we have in place through the Farm Bill. By the way, the Farm Bill is due to be rewritten by Congress or readopted by Congress next year. So hopefully we'll have some key people. We already have some great leadership from Mississippi in place to help lead that conversation. But those federal dollars are coming, as you said, on farms, on private lands to improve habitat, to maintain habitat. And now we have a component at the state level that can partner with that and build upon it to make the Mississippi outdoors even better than they are today.
When you think about conservation of state and farmers, you can't help but think about CRP or WRP. Those programs actually are subsets of the Farm Bill. So CRP, for example, is is the most successful aspect of the original Farm Bill in terms of conservation. And what we want to do in Mississippi is tap into other funds that have a wide variety of possibilities for Mississippi as it relates to conservation. And we get to do that now. We're going to have a trust fund that's going to be generationally important to this state. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with the Commissioner for Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce, Andy Gipson. See you after this break. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. We're visiting with my friend Andy Gipson, who is the Commissioner for Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce. Hey, we're going to finish up the conversation as it relates to the Expo, but real quick, I want to tell you a quick story. We left my house headed offshore Saturday, and we have to go down a little canal. It was still dark. And we had to turn a little bend to get to the main channel of Back Bay. And when I turned the boat, very narrow channel, I noticed off to my left, there was this alligator that had his head out of the water. It was a really big alligator. Probably the head was, 3 feet long. And I noticed something kind of odd, but I had to shift my attention back to this channel because I had to stay in the channel. Don't want to run aground. But my son looked back that way, and the alligator had a raccoon in its mouth and was just doing whatever it was doing. Going to, I guess, eat the raccoon. I've never seen that before. You never know what you're going to see when you're in the outdoors, do you, Andy?
You never know. You never know. It's happening all the time, and we love to get out and see what we can. And Mother Nature is always busy though, daytime and dark.
Boy, that is so true. So let me give you a couple of detailed facts on this, and then we'll finish up the conversation on the Mississippi Ag and Outdoor Expo, which is coming up August the 5th through the 7th. It's presented to you or hosted by the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries and Parks Foundation. The foundation is the short name, big sponsor of Super Talk Outdoors as well. The title sponsor is Southern Ag Credit. Let me give you some key times here. Friday, it's going to be noon to 7. Saturday, 8 to 7. Excuse me. Yes, I'm sorry. Saturday is 10 to 7, not 8 to 7, 10 to 7. And Sunday is 10 to 5. It's going to be at the Mississippi State Fairgrounds in Jackson at the new Trademark Building. We were just talking about just a fabulous, absolutely fabulous venue. Adults are $12. Kids 6 to 12 are 6. 5 and under are free. And Sunday, all kids are free on Sunday. So if you're interested in agricultural products and services, or hunting products and services, or fishing products and services, if you want to go talk to some worldwide guides and outfitters, or if you have an interest in ATVs, UTVs, all the top brands are going to be represented. And tractor and power equipment for sure. And of course, there's other aspects as well. One of the things I remember, Andy, when I pulled up for the first one, these huge tractors and what's happening with the technology around those tractors. I mean, the average person is going to be interested in seeing that. Certainly farmers can go there and get the latest, but it's great to see those, what's happening with the big heavy equipment that farmers are using these days. It's really high tech stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's not the tractor of the 1960s or 70s or even the 80s or 90s. These tractors are built compatible and tied directly into the internet and to satellite imagery, and you've got smart technology that actually governs down to the droplet the amounts of fertilizer and other product that is put on the crops that are raised out there. And these tractors tied in, Mississippi Ag, I know is a sponsor, Davini is a sponsor. You've got all the equipment that you want to look at right here under one roof, and we'll have it on display out front as well. But there's a massive pieces of equipment that are out there, and kids love to see it. And there's a lot of good activities for kids too. This is a family-friendly event. That's what I love about it. You can bring all the kids, and I think kids under 5 get in for free. Bring them out, have a good time, explore the world of the backbone of Mississippi's industry, which is agriculture. And most kids today, let's face it, most kids don't grow up on a farm. Maybe 30 years ago, we could say most kids did grow up on a farm, or even 40 years ago. But today, we know that it's just a small fraction, that 1.3% of the farmers. That's where your kids are. So bring the kids who live in the suburbs, who live out in the cities, bring them to see agriculture and the great outdoors, and they'll love it at the Mississippi Trade Mart.
So cool. That's, again, it's coming up August 5th through the 7th, Mississippi Ag and Outdoor Expo. Take your whole family. It's a family affair. That is for sure. Hey, let's shift gears for a second. One of the things that's happening in the state that has been really successful actually is the work that we've done around hogs, for example. That's one area that we've done some good work. It's an area where you got to include private lands, because if you don't include private land, you're not going to solve the problem. What's the latest in the hog control effort?
Yeah, well, of course, the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks has a great program that they manage on the public lands and managing these invasive species. The reality is we've been working hand in hand with the department for several years on this research program through the wild hog research, educating folks. And the statistics show that these hogs are in all 82 counties. They're everywhere, and they're growing exponentially. So a couple of years ago, the legislature authorized the Department of Agriculture, our office, to work with private landowners and help farmers trap and terminate these hogs on their private farmlands and forest lands. And so we rolled this out a couple of years ago. It has really started to catch on now to the point that we're having more applications than we have traps. We need to get some more traps, smart traps that we're using. And the way we operate it is open an application period. The next application period for private landowners is August 1st through the 15th. And so they can go to our website, that's MDAC, just Google Wild Hog Control Program, Department of Agriculture. They'll find the site, they can apply. And we score those. We have an independent committee that scores those applications. And then when farmers can show us their hogs on the place, we can deliver that smart trap, train that farmer how to use it. And we've had great success trapping, hundreds, thousands now of these hogs. We will never eliminate them, but we've got to control them or it's going to get out of hand. And they destroy not only farmland, $60+ million of farmland every year, but our deer habitat, turkey habitat. These things are non-native, invasive, good for nothing, wild hogs, and they got to be handled. They've got to be controlled. And so what better folks to work with than farmers? They know how to take care of problems, and that's what we do at the Department of Ag on private farms and forestry.
I've had some terrific conversations with the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks about their efforts to do this. And one of the things that's so cool is that, of course, the traps are very effective, but what they've been able to use is new technology when you're talking about these trail cams and whatever that they're attached to it, so they can literally have real-time information on when to close that trap. That's made them so much more efficient, hasn't it?
It really has. If you have a smartphone with one bar of 3G, I don't even know if they have 3G anymore, but what used to be 3G coverage, you can see in real time where these hogs are. You can monitor them, let that whole sounder get in there, and then push a button, drop the trap, and you got them. And we have a Mississippi company here making these traps that really began with research at Mississippi State University. So it's another great genuine Mississippi success story. But we've got to stay ahead of these hogs. If we destroyed them all today, if we killed every wild hog in the state of Mississippi we found today, then by next year they'd still be double their population, triple their population. So we just can never quit. We've got to keep going after them.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine. I mentioned him at the top of the show, Mark Creech, who leases a couple of thousand acres in Stone County, and he works with a guy who's constantly coming in there about this time of year, actually, to get as many out of there as he can. And I'm hearing reports 50, 60, it would be a good weekend. You would think after a while that they wouldn't catch them anymore, but they just keep coming in, man. Here's the other thing. At my place in the Delta, we'll get them on camera every now and then, but then they'll just push on through. They do cover a lot of ground, don't they?
They do, and they travel. They'll leave a place. They'll go to the neighbor's place. We've seen that in our research and our work through the Department of Ag on farmlands. Farmer will have them there. We'll show up. Sometimes we'll catch them that first night. Sometimes they have gone, 10, 15 miles down the road to another place, but they'll circle back in time. You just gotta keep watching them. So that's why in our application process, we really encourage people, if you don't have 1,000 acres, if you got smaller amounts of acreage, partner with your neighbors. Y'all do a joint application so we can get multiple farms apply, and we can cover that at least 1,000 acres, so we can go wherever they are and get them.
Well, we're having a terrific conversation with my friend. I mentioned during the break that he could join me every week, and we'd have plenty to talk about because he keeps his ear close to the ground. He knows what's happening in the ag community, knows what's happening in the conservation community. I always enjoy visiting with the Commissioner for Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce, Andy Gipson. Hey, when we come back, we're going to find out what else is on his mind these days. The department's got a lot going on. He's fresh back from a conference as well, kind of hearing some headlines on what's facing farmers these days. We'll continue the conversation after this break. See you after this. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. I have my friend Andy Gipson, who's the Commissioner for Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce. We talked about the Ag and Outdoor Expo and talk a little bit about some other things that are impacting him these days. But what's the latest in your world? What's top of mind for you today, Andy, as you think about your work?
Well, it is something that we're having to push back against, and that is the federal overreach at the United States Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. The EPA has been around, for decades now. They obviously had a mission way back when, but particularly this Biden administration, the EPA has become so activist and so threatening to, frankly, agriculture, and to taking away the tools that our farmers need to produce our own food and our own fiber and our own shelter. One example of that, we had a deal with the prior EPA under the Trump administration and the Army Corps of Engineers to approve the Yazoo pumps that it should have been built 50 years ago. I went to an announcement of that in January of 2021, where it was announced, and the governor was there, and Commissioner Cindy Hyde-Smith, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, Senator Roger Wicker were there, EPA. Everybody said, we got to do it. We're going to do this. And then lo and behold, in November, this new Biden EPA undoes all that. What a gut punch to our farmers. I mean, taking away the last ray of hope they had to finish these pumps so they can keep farming the South Delta. Now, we cannot let our foot off the gas of that fight. We've got to finish the pumps. But you take that mentality now and apply it to endangered species. I mean, they're finding endangered species all over Mississippi, all over America, to try to stop farmers' ability to farm because they got some theoretically endangered animal out there, and it's just not proven by the science. So they are pushing the envelope as far as they can. These radical environmental groups are behind the scenes working the EPA, and they're getting a lot of success. And then they're rewriting the Waters of the United States rule, which under Obama's administration, they were trying to regulate every creek and ditch on any farm in America. The Trump administration rewrote that. We were happy with that definition. It was a common sense, kind of a navigable waterway situation. Now they're trying to take it back to the farm level and regulate anywhere a cup of water would run off down through a ditch somewhere. It is a daily battle. It's a daily struggle. Our farmers have enough problems without these regulators and bureaucrats trying to take their farms away and take away their livelihoods. So bottom line, we need new leadership. And I have had meetings with leaders in the EPA, in my office, had them here in Jackson. And, I'm just telling you, it's not a friendly situation. That's top of my mind, on top of the other challenges that our farmers are dealing with.
Coming out of the pandemic, and we could spend a whole show talking about this, but coming out of the pandemic, every industry has been challenged. Yeah. Of course, we have a change of administration, so what ends up happening, the pendulum starts to swing on things like environmental rules and how they adopt them and how they read them and what they think needs to happen to change the situation. And the pendulum swing in the midst of the pandemic and then the Ukrainian war on top of that. Buddy, you're talking about a lot of factors that the current administration would like to tell you that has not been the case. But buddy, it has been the case big time, hasn't it?
It's real. It is absolutely real. It is in the face of our farmers every day and many other industries that these regulations and the policies, federal policies, are having a very real and detrimental effect on the industry in America, starting with our farmers. And so we can't get relief fast enough on that level. That's really about all I can say about that. But, I appreciate the folks here in D.C. fighting for Mississippi. I really want to say that to our congressmen, our senators. Thank you for what you're doing for Mississippi.
Well, we're coming to the end of our show together, but one of the things that is really evident when you and I visit together is that you love what you do, don't you?
I do. I really do. I feel like I'm right where I need to be. I feel like I've got work to do, not only today, but in the years ahead. And I feel like it's a critical time. I mentioned earlier, Mississippians are not going to starve to death. That's because of the work of our farmers. And so anything I can do to support our farmers and our agriculture industry, that's what I want to do. And I'm very proud of who we are as a state and who our farmers are, what they are doing each and every day. We can never stop supporting them and never stop saying thank you when you see a farmer. Thank them.
Andy Gipson, the Commissioner of Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you and discuss Mississippi's outdoors. And just one last reminder, Yeah, you should really strongly consider going to the Mississippi Ag and Outdoor Expo coming up in Jackson on August 5th through the 7th. It's going to be a terrific event. Looking forward to going myself. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Same here, and I'll see y'all at the Expo. Come on out. We're going to have a great time.
You bet. Have a great day, and as I always end up, stay safe in the outdoors. We'll see you next week.